The One Year Bible, the Living Bible Paraphrased, June 26. 2 Kings chapter 9, verse 14 through chapter 10, verse 31. That is how Jehu son of Jehoshaphat, son of Nimshi, rebelled against King Joram. King Joram had been with the army at Ramoth Gilead, defending Israel against the forces of King Hazael of Syria, but he had returned to Jezreel to recover from his wounds. "Since you want me to be king," Jehu told the men who were with him, "don't let anyone escape to Jezreel to report what we have done." Then Jehu jumped into a chariot and rode to Jezreel himself to find King Joram, who was lying there wounded. King Ahaziah of Judah was there too, for he had gone to visit him. The watchman on the tower of Jezreel saw Jehu and his company approaching and shouted, "Someone is coming! Send out a rider and find out if he is friend or foe." King Joram shouted back. So a soldier rode out to meet Jehu. "The king wants to know whether you are friend or foe," he demanded. "Do you come in peace?" Jehu replied, "What do you know about peace? Get behind me." The watchman called out to the king that the messenger had met them but was not returning. So the king sent out a second rider. He rode up to them and demanded in the name of the king to know whether their intentions were friendly or not. Jehu answered, "What do you know about friendliness? Get behind me." "He isn't returning either," the watchman exclaimed. "It must be Jehu, for he is driving so furiously." "Quick, get my chariot ready," King Joram commanded. Then he and the king Ahaziah of Judah rode out to meet Jehu. They met him at the field of Ramoth, and King Joram demanded, "Do you come as a friend, Jehu?" Jehu replied, "How can there be friendship as long as the evils of your mother Jezebel are all around us?" Then King Joram reined the chariot horses around and fled, shouting to King Ahaziah, "There is treachery, Ahaziah, treason." Then Jehu drew his bow with his full strength and shot Joram between the shoulders, and the arrow pierced his heart. He sank down dead in his chariot. Jehu said to Bigtar his assistant, "Throw him into the field of Naboth, for once when you and I were riding along behind his father Ahab, the Lord revealed this prophecy to me. I will repay him here on Naboth's property for the murder of Naboth and his sons. So throw him out on Naboth's field, just as the Lord said." Meanwhile, King Ahaziah of Judah had fled along the road to Beth Haggan. Jehu rode after him, shouting, "Shoot him too." So they shot him in his chariot at the place where the road climbs to Gur, near Ibleam. He was able to go on as far as Megiddo, but died there. His officials took him by chariot to Jerusalem, where they buried him in the royal cemetery. Ahaziah's reign over Judah had begun in the 12th year of the reign of King Joram of Israel. When Jezebel heard that Jehu had come to Jezreel, she painted her eyelids and fixed her hair. She painted her eyelids and fixed her hair and sat at a window. When Jehu entered the gate of the palace, she shouted at him, "How are you today, you murderer, you son of Zimri, who murdered his master?" He looked up and saw her at the window and shouted, "Who is on my side?" And 2 or 3 eunuchs looked out at him. "Throw her down," he yelled. So they threw her out of the window, and her blood spattered against the wall and on the horses, and she was trampled by the horses' hoofs. Then Jehu went into the palace for lunch. Afterwards he said, "Someone go and bury this cursed woman, for she is the daughter of a king." But when they went out to bury her, they found only her skull, her feet, and her hands. When they returned and told him, he remarked, "That is just what the Lord said would happen. He told Elijah the prophet that dogs would eat her flesh, and that her body would be scattered like manure upon the field, so that no one could tell whose it was." Then Jehu wrote a letter to the city council of Samaria and to the guardians of Ahab's 70 sons, all of whom were living there. Upon receipt of this letter, select the best one out of Ahab's sons to be your king, and prepare to fight for his throne. For you have chariots and horses and a fortified city and an armory. But they were too frightened to do it. 2 kings couldn't stand against this man. What can we do? They said. So the manager of palace affairs and the city manager, together with the city council and the guardians of Ahab's sons, sent to him this message: Jehu, we are your servants and will do anything you tell us to. We have decided that you should be our king instead of one of Ahab's sons. Jehu responded with this message: If you are on my side and are going to obey me, bring the heads of your master's sons to me at Jezreel at about this time tomorrow. These 70 sons of King Ahab were living in the homes of the chief men of the city, where they had been raised since childhood. When the letter arrived, all 70 of them were murdered, and their heads were packed into baskets and presented to Jehu at Jezreel. When a messenger told Jehu that the heads of the king's sons had arrived, he said to pile them into heaps at the entrance of the city gate, and to leave them there until the next morning. In the morning he went out and spoke to the crowd that had gathered around them. You aren't to blame, he told them. I conspired against my master and killed him, but I didn't kill his sons. The Lord has done that, for everything he says comes true. He declared through his servant Elijah that this would happen to Ahab's descendants. Jehu then killed all the rest of the members of the family of Ahab who were in Jezreel, as well as all of his important officials, personal friends, and private chaplains. Finally, no one was left who had been close to him in any way. Then he set out for Samaria and stayed overnight at a shepherd's inn along the way. While he was there, he met the brothers of King Ahaziah of Judah. Who are you? He asked them. They replied, We are brothers of King Ahaziah. We are going to Samaria to visit the sons of King Ahab and of the queen mother Jezebel. Grab them, Jehu shouted to his men, and he took them out to the cistern and killed all 42 of them. As he left the inn, he met Jehonadab, the son of Rechab, who was coming to meet him. After they had greeted each other, Jehu said to him, Are you as loyal to me as I am to you? Yes, Jehonadab replied. Then give me your hand, Jehu said, and he helped him into the royal chariot. Now come along with me, Jehu said, and see how much I have done for the Lord. So Jehonadab rode along with him. When he arrived in Samaria, he butchered all of Ahab's friends and relatives, just as Elijah, speaking for the Lord, had predicted. Then Jehu called a meeting of all the people of the city and said to them, Ahab hardly worshipped Baal. Ahab hardly worshipped Baal at all in comparison to the way I am going to. Summon all the prophets and priests of Baal, and call together all his worshippers. See to it that every one of them comes, for we worshippers of Baal are going to have a great celebration to praise him. Any of Baal's worshippers who don't come will be put to death. But Jehu's plan was to exterminate them. He sent messengers throughout all Israel summoning those who worship Baal, and they all came and filled the temple of Baal from one end to the other. He instructed the head of the robing room, Be sure that every worshipper wears one of the special robes. Then Jehu and Jehonadab, son of Rechab, went into the temple to address the people. Check to be sure that only those who worship Baal are here. Don't let anyone in who worships the Lord. As the priest of Baal began offering sacrifices and burnt offerings, Jehu surrounded the building with 80 of his men and told them, "If you let anyone escape, you'll pay for it with your own life." As soon as he had finished sacrificing the burnt offering, Jehu went out and told his officers and men, "Go in and kill the whole bunch of them. Don't let a single one escape." So they slaughtered them all and dragged their bodies outside. Then Jehu's men went into the inner temple, dragged out the pillar used for the worship of Baal, and burnt it. They wrecked the temple and converted it into a public toilet, which it still is today. Thus, Jehu destroyed every trace of Baal from Israel. However, he didn't destroy the gold calves at Bethel and Dan. This was the great sin of Jeroboam, son of Nebat, for it resulted in all Israel sinning. Afterwards the Lord said to Jehu, "You have done well in following my instructions to destroy the dynasty of Ahab. Because of this I will cause your son, your grandson, and your great-grandson to be the kings of Israel." But Jehu didn't follow the Lord God of Israel with all his heart, for he continued to worship Jeroboam's gold calves that had been the cause of such great sin in Israel. Acts chapter 17, verses 1 through 34. Now they, Paul and Silas, traveled through the cities of Amphipolis and Apollonia, and came to Thessalonica, where there was a Jewish synagogue. As was Paul's custom, he went there to preach, and for 3 Sabbaths in a row he opened the Scriptures to the people, explaining the prophecies about the sufferings of the Messiah and his coming back to life, and proving that Jesus is the Messiah. Some who listened were persuaded and became converts, including a large number of godly Greek men and also many important women of the city. But the Jewish leaders were jealous and incited some worthless fellows from the streets to form a mob and start a riot. They attacked the home of Jason, planning to take Paul and Silas to the city council for punishment. Not finding them there, they dragged out Jason and some of the other believers and took them before the council instead. "Paul and Silas have turned the rest of the world upside down, and now they are here disturbing our city," they shouted. And Jason has let them into his home. They are all guilty of treason, for they claim another king, Jesus, instead of Caesar. The people of the city as well as the judges were concerned at these reports and let them go only after they had posted bail. That night the Christians hurried Paul and Silas to Berea, and as usual they went to the synagogue to preach. But the people of Berea were more open-minded than those in Thessalonica and gladly listened to the message. They searched the Scriptures day by day to check up on Paul and Silas's statements to see if they were really so. As a result, many of them believed, including several prominent Greek women and many men also. But when the Jews in Thessalonica learned that Paul was preaching in Berea, they went over and stirred up trouble. The believers acted at once, sending Paul on to the coast, while Silas and Timothy remained behind. Those accompanying Paul went on with him to Athens and returned to Berea with a message for Silas and Timothy to hurry and join him. While Paul was waiting for them in Athens, he was deeply troubled by all the idols he saw everywhere throughout the city. He went to the synagogue for discussions with the Jews and the devout Gentiles and spoke daily in the public square to all who happened to be there. He also had an encounter with some of the Epicurean and Stoic philosophers. Their reaction when he told them about Jesus and his resurrection was, "He's a dreamer," or "He's pushing some foreign religion." But they invited him to the forum at Mars Hill. "Come and tell us more about this new religion," they said, "for you are saying some rather startling things, and we want to hear more." I should explain that all the Athenians, as well as the foreigners in Athens, seemed to spend all their time discussing the latest new ideas. So Paul, standing before them at Mars Hill Forum, addressed them as follows. Men of Athens, I notice that you are very religious. For as I was out walking, I saw your many altars, and one of them had this inscription on it, To the unknown God. You have been worshipping him without knowing who he is, and now I wish to tell you about him. He made the world and everything in it, and since he is Lord of heaven and earth, he doesn't live in man-made temples, and human hands can't minister to his needs, for he has no needs. He himself gives life and breath to everything and satisfies every need there is. He created all the people of the world from one man, Adam, and scattered the nations across the face of the earth. He decided beforehand which should rise and fall, and when. He determined their boundaries. His purpose in all of this is that they should seek after God and perhaps feel their way toward him and find him, though he is not far from any one of us, for in him we live and move and are. As one of your own poets said, as one of your own poets says it, we are the sons of God. If this is true, we shouldn't think of God as an idol made by men from gold or silver or clipped from stone. God tolerated man's past ignorance about these things, but now he commands everyone to put away idols and worship only him. For he has set a day for justly judging the world by the man he has appointed, and has pointed him out by bringing him back to life again. When they heard of Paul speak of the resurrection of a person who had been dead, some laughed, but others said, We want to hear more about this later. That ended Paul's discussion with them, but a few joined him and became believers. Among them was Dionysius, a member of the city council, and a woman named Damaris, and others. Psalm 144, verses 1 through 15. Bless the Lord, who is my immovable rock. He gives me strength and skill in battle. He is always kind and loving to me. He is my fortress. He is my fortress, my tower of strength and safety, my deliverer. He stands before me as a shield. He subdues my people under me. O Lord, what is man that you even notice him? Why bother at all with the human race? The man is but a breath. His days are like a passing shadow. Bend down the heavens, Lord, and come. The mountains smoke beneath your torch. The mountains smoke beneath your touch. Let loose your lightning bolts, your arrows, Lord, upon your enemies and scatter them. Reach down from heaven and rescue me. Deliver me from deep waters, from the power of my enemies. Their mouths are filled with lies. They swear to the truth of what is false. I'll sing you a new song, O God, with a 10-stringed harp, for you grant victory to kings. You are the one who will rescue your servant David from the fatal sword. Save me, deliver me from these enemies, these liars, these treacherous men. Here is my description of a truly happy land where Jehovah is God. Sons vigorous and tall as growing plants, daughters of graceful beauty like the pillars of a palace wall, barns filled to the brim with crops of every kind, sheep by the thousands out in our fields, oxen loaded down with produce, no enemy attacking the walls, but peace everywhere. No crime in our streets. Yes, happy are those whose God is Jehovah. Proverbs chapter 17, verses 27 and 28. The man of few words and settled mind is wise. Therefore, even a fool is thought to be wise when he is silent. It pays him to keep his mouth shut.